You wrote a killer blog post internally here, basically talking about how we're getting a little bit sloppy in how we're defining the marketing funnel as marketers. So I'd love if you could tell me where you think we're kind of going wrong in our definitions here lately.
Yeah, sure. I think that the marketing funnel, everyone knows what it is, but it very often tends to get misrepresented or even neglected by marketers, probably just because of the way that marketing as a discipline has evolved. So I'm hoping for a bit of a return to fundamentals and how we evaluate and just strategize around the audiences we're trying to target. I guess for those who don't know, the marketing funnel is this concept or a framework that represents a customer's journey from learning about a brand or business to actually eventually making a purchase or repurchase. And it's a great framework to use to kind of pinpoint what strategies we need to use to meet buyers, potential buyers, at different stages of their decision towards purchase. But I think with marketing like departments and like agencies and everything, there tends to be this big like split in specialization and what marketing teams focus on, which is either performance marketing, which is really concerned with the very bottom of the funnel, like very quick, measurable conversion actions with that happen within a week. And then there's the other side, which is brand marketing, which is not at all concerned with conversions, ROAS, any of that. It's very concerned with stuff completely outside of the marketing funnel, which is what consumers think and feel about your brand even before they have any measure of interaction with it. But then there's this, third territory, which is the top of the funnel and the middle of the funnel that I think often just gets ignored because it's kind of in that middle ground between these two areas. And marketers, I think because it's ignored or even misrepresented sometimes, we're not defining it as clearly, those different stages. We're just failing to put investment into a huge portion of targetable audience for different brands.
Hmm. So could you then can we chat a little bit more about what you would say people are currently thinking are like tactics or like how where are they kind of getting that wrong?
Well, we work at a performance marketing agency, which is very largely focused on bottom of funnel, and so and with different brands, I think the introduction of digital advertising in the last 10 to 15 years has seen like a big push and focus on more of the bottom of the funnel. We have this gift that we can measure conversions, and of course, we want to maximize them as much as possible. And so often, I see that marketers or brands are so focused on, of course, growing their businesses, but they want to do it in, as bottom of funnel a way as possible. So they say, we are optimizing towards purchase. Now we want to move up funnel to an add to cart, and that is our top of funnel, or that's our mid funnel. But when you look at that audience, it might be exactly identical to a purchase audience. Not in every single case, but you might find, well, of course, they're very, very correlated events. You might find that you're not able to expand your reach or actually meaningfully target different users because you're still so focused on like that return on ad spend. And like the reason that you're moving to an add to cart is not necessarily to open up your prospecting and improve your customer base 2 or 3 months down the line. It's just to get more ROAS with more spend. And so I see often people misclassifying that as like a true like top of funnel or mid of funnel strategy when it might not be. It often is not. And so that's what I mean when I talk about these misclassifications is like we're kind of just looking for doing more of and getting more of what we're already used to getting rather than considering these strategies as really different audience bases that are going to interact very differently with those brands than what we would expect from in-market users who want to purchase within 7 days.
I have what's maybe a dumb question then. My understanding of the funnel has always been this idea of like the consumer has a problem and they're trying to figure out what that problem is and how to solve it. And then the mid stage is them like doing research on what could potentially solve their problem. And then the bottom phase is them like choosing what would solve their problem. And so I think I'm like a little bit confused how we got here of considering add to cart as like middle of funnel when it like I always just thought that middle of funnel meant like they were still investigating solutions. So is that still accurate, this idea of like what your user is doing along the journey?
It is. I think it's just that like the platforms and tactics that we use kind of obfuscate the user. Like we're really just
Yeah.
looking at a conversion point or an event. We're not looking at individual users, and we're trying to make like assumptions about those events and who's going to be driven to take them. But I think that it's just you kind of miss that distinction between who you're going after, because you get so focused in on like a specific action, and then that's kind of where you might start talking about, oh, we're going to move up funnel, to a different event, because an add to cart is literally one stage up, like a conversion funnel, like the actual on-site funnel to purchase. So you're calling it up funnel, but it's not truly an up funnel marketing strategy. So it's kind of like two different things, and maybe it's even like a just a problem in terms of the wording people are using. But I've actually seen that lead to really bad investment decisions. If we're using the wrong verbiage, we might not be focused on like tying that back to the bigger objectives, like what these different media strategies can do for us.
I see. So we're trying to say that every part of the bottom funnel is the whole funnel because we just want to spend at the things we can more easily like measure. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the problem that more of the performance marketers tend to run into, is that like we're really just looking for improving our short-term outcomes
Yeah.
and different tools to do that, when we need to consider the fact that middle funnel, midterm outcomes, top of funnel, long-term outcomes. There's different like event horizons for these different strategies. There's different audiences, there's different KPIs, there's different objectives. There should be different budgets or different experimental budgets. Yes, ideally there's like this one holistic program strategy that's kind of governing it all. But sometimes that can get away from like, being decisive about differentiating our strategies, if that makes sense. Like sometimes we get too focused on like the ROAS goal, and then we start calling different bottom funnel strategies top funnel, and they really aren't.
100%. Okay, I feel like we have gotten a handle on what everyone's doing wrong and we've solved all of our performance marketing woes.
Sure. Yeah.
Were there any questions that I didn't ask or anything that you want to add on this topic?
I don't think so. Honestly, like my call out is very simple, which is just the second that everybody starts speaking the same language about what is what, the second we have easier marching orders in terms of how to connect those top line objectives into like what we're deciding to invest in day to day. So it's really just, let's make sure that within every company and every agency, like we're aligning on these different stages of the funnel and how those translate into the different tactics and channels that we're employing on a day-to-day basis.